Everybody, it is Romania Black, and we are on episode 11 of A Place Further Than the Universe. And last episode, Yuzu, my girl. We got to celebrate her birthday. We also got to celebrate Christmas. We got settled into Antarctica, and we ended the episode with a little in-credit scene that was basically foreshadowing that not only would we hear from Kamari's family, but also Hinata would maybe have to have some reconciliation with some people by the end of this. So that's going to be interesting. We still have 3 episodes, so I'm like, we're going to get to a few more things, but we know as the audience that Shirase and her mom, we're going to round out on that because that's going to be really important. So I'm honestly excited to see what we're going to do in 3 episodes. I'm not going to lie, I'm kind of watching ahead because I couldn't wait. So everybody on Patreon that left comments for episode 10, I will get to them by episode 12, promise. And hopefully by YouTube by then. But I just couldn't wait. I was like, last episode was really good. And I waited a couple days and I was like, I had time tonight. And I was like, oh, I want to watch something. I kind of want to watch A Place Further Than the Universe. So that's where we're at, but that's okay. That's fine. I am really excited to see what we get this episode. Should be a good time. So before we start, I want to give a huge shout out, not only to those of you on YouTube that are liking the videos, leaving comments, subscribing, all of that jazz, but also to Patreon because you all supporting me is so insane and amazing. And I want to give a shout out to our philanthropy tier. They get a special shout out in my videos because they donate a little bit extra each month because they're just kind, awesome people. And they leave comments and are wonderful in the Discord and all that fun stuff. So a special shout out to our philanthropy tier over on Patreon. So thank you to Alex Cornejo, to Be Happy, to Bisa, to Damage3245, to Dana Devorin, Danger Zone, to Destiny Marie, as well as Eric Ichu, El Cuno, Fisho, Ghostly Turnip, as well as El Freya, Liam Posel, Lyndon, Matthew Palfinier, Murphew, Willie Morris, as well as Translucent Men, Sunspots, and Shimoyama. Thank you to everybody on Patreon that supports me, including all of you all of my love, as you all know. So yeah, I'm so curious. There's a lot with this series that could happen in 3 episodes. There's a lot that can happen in 1 episode. So I'm super excited to see what we're going to get with this. But with that being said, we're not going to waste any more time. We are going to dive into episode 11 of A Place Further Than the Universe. I'm so excited, and we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and I'll see you all on the other side. Like I said, just when you think you know what's going on in this episode, nope. Wow, so we did get a Hinata themed episode, which was really good, but I did not see Shirase being the bold bestie. Did not see that coming, and this episode nearly made me cry. I was like, man, why are we crying over these teenage girls coming of age and learning about friendship? Like, what? But there actually is a lot going on in this episode, and one thing that this series does really, really well is build upon itself the idea of callbacks and about their developing friendships and character work, and just it builds and builds and builds upon itself, which is really nice and very fun to see from like a viewer perspective. But yeah, man, they did a big fake out again ever since we've gotten Antarctica and they've teased the whole Takako dying thing. I've been like, oh, are we gonna have a repeat of that dangerous situation? And this episode starts out by giving us a fake out of it. How dare you? Because yeah, Antarctica does look like at times it's serene and beautiful and everything's great, and in the drop of a hat it's like you could die. And so it's like, now someone I believe had said through the comments that it actually is summer there, and they had established that, so these are the warmest months there, but you don't want to be in winter. And it's funny because the algorithm brings up information about, things that you're talking about and things that, it's listening and stuff like that. And so I had saw something that said that Antarctica in the winter, it's just night 24/7, which sounds terrifying. No, thank you. And it's kind of like Alaska here, where the summers, the daylight is like never ending. It's really, really long, which is curious. But yeah, what a fake out. What a fake out starting up there and being like, no, the first line of this episode is, no, I don't want to die. I'm like, show, how dare you? And they're like, let go. This is why I didn't want to come here. And we get all like the poles and stuff and how frigid it is outside. And they're like, Kamari, shut up. If you want her to live, fork over the cash. Ah. So yeah. So like, help me. I have a turtle and a hamster who need me. I like Yuzu saying, I'm sorry, I'm just a temp. You'll have to talk to the bank manager. Amazing. Amazing. And Shirase's like, we have a job to do. So apparently off screen, Kamari has gotten a tan line with having her goggles on and her face exposed. She's gotten a tan line. Everybody thinks it's funny. I can relate to Kamari because I am hyper pale, quite Victorian, even though I'm like half German. And most of the time I burn. And so anymore, I like slather SPF 50 anywhere I go because I'm like, no, because tanning is not good. Tanning ages you. Don't do it. It also increases your chances of skin cancer. Don't let that happen. So yeah, I'm just like slathering on the SPF all the time. But I can relate to Kamari because I've been there before. Farmer's tan and all that, you know. So yeah, poor Kamari. She's like, you guys still laughing at me? And Yuzu's like, it's not nice to laugh at her, but even she finds it really funny, right? So they're gearing up for a special where they're going to air it and talk back to people that they know, all of that. And they're getting it all set up, which is interesting because basically like these people hang around and it's been like a whole day, right? A whole day or two that they were there for the special. So I love that Reen and the mom tune in, but they both see. And if I can relate, again, because my family would do the exact same thing. My family would be laughing and taking pictures of it, and I'd be like, really? So Kamari's struggles, I can 100% relate. And then that's like when the girls say, oh, Miyaki-san, some friends of yours heard about this relay test and came to talk to you. And she's like, friends? I don't have any friends. And then we see them. Like, oh, it's been so long. We were so worried. Yeah. And she's like, bullshit. I don't want to talk to them. I love it. One thing that I love about this is that I think Shirase relates to Hinata so much because Shirase knows what it's like to have people look down on you and to say it's not possible and shun you, because she's had that happen this whole time while she's been getting ready for an Arctic trip. And so she can relate to Hinata and her struggles a little bit, right? So anyway, that's the whole timetable for the New Year's card from Antarctica is the program, and that's the whole thing that has to do with it. Well, you're going to probably get more views from this little outburst that Shirase has. Girl had some things to say. So this episode is called Bash That Drum Can, which I was like, I didn't know what that meant. And so I didn't know if that would be Hinata like getting violent after her outburst with it, but it's literally like New Year's. Like they're hitting the mochi in the little thumbnail there. I also like they have the beer table they're doing it on, and I like that it's Shirase and Hinata in the thumbnail, which is fun. It says hashtag ghosting, hashtag jante, hashtag satellite peace, hashtag watch for animals. I love these little like title cards. Super, super cute. But yeah. So we get them, we have the can that like signals for the plane where to land. So, because I imagine it would be really hard to see with all the snow and ice. And so we don't exactly know what's in there. It was brought by Drumland from Japan on the way to the news station. So they dropped it off there. It's all the extra stuff we needed. Okay. Which means we have everything that we need now. So they talk about we won't be able to create an observatory. I mean, in 3 months. Yeah, not for this trip. But they could, you know, we could set things up and, you know, a few years from now we could try for it. And Geen is like, we should go, shouldn't we? She's like, I think that's what everyone wants to go. But still, that's the place where Takako died. So while they were in the process of getting this observatory ready, that's where Takako died, and that's what caused the problem. It's where that little red... iconically done red little pinpoint. Also, I think it's kind of symbolic because you have a white map with the red dot in the middle, and it kind of, represents the Japanese flag a little bit. So that's kind of cool to see that, but also looks like a drop of blood or a splatter, just to be morbid, Interesting. And then we go back again. It's not safe at all. What should we do? I mean, you're there. That's a hard question. So yes, they're getting New Year's cards ready, which makes sense because it's like, it's one of those funny things where when you're on a vacation, you send a postcard knowing good and well that you'll probably get back before the postcard gets there, but still it's the idea of it. At least now it's the idea. I feel like back then maybe you would not get back before the card got there. And poor Kamari's like, And again, Yuzu's only thinking of the broadcasting. She's like, well, I'm sure it'll be fun publicity. And she's like, no, not really. And then that's when Kamari comments, she's like, is the only New Year's card you're sending to your manager? And Hinata's like, why would I send it to anybody else? And that's when Shirase goes out to see her and sees Hinata have the freak out in the snow, telling it to piss off. And I'm gonna be real. Have I had a freak out moment like that, like Hinata's done? Was it over something kind of similar? Yeah. I was like, when I was that age, yeah, probably. I'm sure I've had a freak out moment like that. I think Shirase was kind of really thrown off by it because Hinata is usually so calm and cool under pressure, and she doesn't ever get worked up about anything. She just kind of brushes it off and acts apathetic. So for her to get really worked up about this, it clearly has affected her. And Shirase's her friend, and she's like, I want to know why you're so freaked out about all this. Like, what happened to make you, like, have that reaction? And it really affected Shirase. Like, Shirase was really freaked out for her throughout this entire episode because, she wants to help, but also maybe she can kind of understand where Hinata's coming from, but she thinks it's something really bad, and she wants to, be able to be there for her. And I didn't know at first how the episode was going to go because I thought maybe Shirase was going to give the message of, oh, well, you could lose these friendships and, I lost my mom and I wish I'd had more time with her. So maybe don't brush off these friendships. But once we find out the actual story behind it, then Shirase's like, oh no, like forget them. Why are you worried about them? And we'll talk about that when we get to it. But yeah, she was genuinely worried about it. And I think what made her worry the most was that how quickly Hinata like snapped and flipped on a dime, was like, everything's fine. And Shirase's like, because in her mind, she's probably thinking, you just had a freak out moment and you're clearly affected. Now you're acting like everything's cool. She's probably thinking, have you been like this for a while? Or has things been bothering you for a while and you've been brushing it off? And am I now going to think every time you're acting all chipper and everything's hunky-dory that there's actually something deep underlying that's bothering you? So she's like, I kind of want to know, as your friend. And I think that that's so, like, Shirase's friendship in this episode is so well done. I love it. And her just being, I also love the consistency of the episode. Every time we cut to Shirase up until their conversation, she just looked pensive. Like, she was just like, I want to say something, but I don't know what to do. So then we cut to outside as they're working, digging, we did this together 3 years ago. Takako wanted to do everything. And she did. Yeah, she went all over. And so Kamari's like, she was here too, Shirase. Which, she's like, isn't that nice? I don't know. To me, I feel like Shirase's been building up a lot as a character in this series. I feel like Kamari meant really well by saying like, oh, your mom was here too. Isn't that cool? But the way that Shirase responds to it, there is an underlying like kind of tension and underlying kind of remorse because it's like her mom did all these things and then she died. So it's like there is like a layer there that's added to this whole experience for Shirase. So they say it's all ice up ahead, so we're digging a hole with steam. And after that, I think we went to Rundvagshetta. Like, it sounds like a powerful name. It's a place with exposed rock. So Rundvag... Oh, it's the first thing that comes up. So, okay, cool. Interesting. So from the Australian Antarctic Data Center, We'll look at that source and see what we get. Its name originates from Russia. Oh, okay. Interesting. Oh, okay. So there's actually latitude and longitude for it. Okay. But what is it, friends? I'm so curious. Here we go. Get me a wiki page. Some quick things. Oh, this is in Russian. How does one translate? How does one translate? Help. Here we go. Okay, good. Wow. That was, I just opened it up and was like, I can't read any of that. So where is, I want to find the place that they're talking about, but I don't know if it's going to, where's my command F? Run. Is that anywhere on here? Oh, okay. It's not giving, it gives me Letzau home base, so I don't know what that means exactly. Herm. It's not helping me out here. Boo! Okay. Anyway, I guess it's a point on there. That's not important in the long run, I guess. It's got exposed rock, so they're going here. If you ask Nobu-san, she might take you there. Yeah, sea ice here. Nobu-san at geology. Are you overreading? So Nobu's the one that's in love with you, who is heartbroken that he won't ever call her back. Girl, I know I would be heartbroken too, but you can do better than him. They haven't heard from you since Christmas. The garnet he gave me 2 years ago. Dry rocks and dry love. Yusu's like, oh my God, she's just, she is down and out. Wow. So they're like, okay. It's funny because I live near Route 13. So when we saw Route 13 on the sign there, I was like, oh dang, that seems familiar. But yeah, it's so cold. I love when they see the animal, like watch for animals. We don't get to see penguins this episode, but we've already been spoiled, so we can't ask for too much. But that sight of seeing the sun hitting over the ice, it's so beautiful. Like, it's so pure. And I was envious of them getting to try, like, unfiltered, perfect water. Like, I want to try that. I'm surprised that there's not companies bottling it up and trying to sell it, But Antarctica really is amazing. I also think it's pretty telling that Hinata looks up at the sky because the sky has no limit. The sky is freeing, and Hinata is all about being a free spirit. She doesn't want to be held down by anything. So her looking up at the sky is pretty telling, right? Again, every time you see Shirase, she's thinking about what to say. And that's when she asks Hinata about, is something bothering her? So then we get to where they say, be careful going outside. We get the sign to say, don't do it. There's like a snowstorm. And then we get the bath scene, which, let me tell you, from watching a series called Gunbuster to this series, these are respectable bath scenes. That's one thing I really like about this, is that it is about teenage girls. And so we don't need to sexualize these girls in any way, which is great. Thank you, show, for not doing that. Can't say the same for some recent series that I've watched. But yeah, I love that they're just like, just accept the fact that you have a tan line. So, Mahjong, they find out that Shirase is actually pretty good at Mahjong. And so she's been playing with Gin and Kane and all that. But I love that Kamari gave everything away. It's like when you're playing poker and she's like, so what do the aces mean? Just, I love this Shirase. Even I don't know how to play Mahjong, but I could tell everything she was saying was like, so if you have the winning card, she's like, get out. Like, you can't leave. No, that's so funny. So funny. And the bird's so cute, which I know the bird is like important. So they're like, yep, Shirase's always been testy. So, okay. So on the block list, there is Masato, Ayaka, and Satsuki. So those are the 3 girls that are on her block list. And it says delete, and then it's block and delete. So she's wanting to, like, potentially get rid of them as friends. But she doesn't know if she should do that or not. We're going to talk about that here in a hot second. But yeah, this part here where Shirase, like, has like the 16,000 points, like she basically scores like this amazing round. They're like, how have you been playing with Takako since you were little? And she's like, oh, for a while. And they're like, ah, damn it. She's like, we can't win. And it says, not against the daughter of Gin and Takako. And it says Jante. Okay. So that's interesting. The daughter of Gin and Takako. I mean, at this point, do we think that Gin and Takako were an item? And Takako just happened to have Shirase with some guy? And that was just like, it just happened. And then her and Gin, like, got together. I mean, it's seeming more and more like that. It's seeming more and more apparently like that, which I'm not opposed to at all. I actually am quite fond of that. I like Takako as our bisexual queen. Let's go, girl. So yeah. So they say we got an email from Hinata's friends addressed to the base. I love you can kind of see like pictures in the background of the crew and everything. I wish we could see those up close a little bit more. And they're like, friends. So yeah, we get to Hinata from the track team. I like the woman watching the emails are the ones that's waiting for you to contact her. And she looks like she hasn't slept in 20 years. My girl. So Shirase asks to see the email. When she hesitates to look at the email, it felt like, have you ever watched the movie, A Goofy Movie? Have you ever watched that film? And there's a scene where Max, he has the option to do this one thing. And this like map presents itself in front of him. And he has the option to change the map. And it'll alter the course of their trip. And it's like this big like, oh, you shouldn't do that. But he does it sort of moment. This felt like that. Like, do you click the email or not? And honestly, I would have clicked it. I would have been like Shirase. I would have clicked it. I know I would say in my head, be like, oh no, it's all Hinata's and it's not Shirase's business. If Hinata wants to read it, she would. We all know she would delete it. We all know she wouldn't read it. There's no way. But I would kind of be like Shirase in that I want to know my friend is okay. I would have clicked it too. I would have done it, especially if I knew that it was affecting her this bad and she didn't want to talk about it. So she clicks it. I love that she hesitates and then she clicks on it and then it's too late. And she opens it up and it says, you quit the track team and quit school so suddenly. We wish we'd said something to the older girls. We're sorry for leaving you all alone. Which the fact of the matter is they left her alone. And they only waited until now when it was being televised and there was an audience to put attention back towards them. And I don't blame Hinata for being pissed off. Because it's not like she lives far away. She worked at that convenience store. I don't know if she moved far away. She's like, it was addressed to her. And she's like, how could you do something like that? And she's like, I was worried. I like that Shirase is like close to crying. She's like, you seem so mad about something and you wouldn't say anything. And she's like, I thought you were hiding something that you weren't telling us. I really like Hinata with her hair down. I really like it. I also like the juxtaposed as they're going to the one spot where they have the tent set up and everything. We see like the juxtaposition back and forth of them in the helicopter and then her telling them the story. That was really well done, like how they framed that. Because you have Hinata filming, Kamari is looking out the window, Yuzu hates being in the helicopter. I would be Yuzu. And then Shirase is just over there like just going through in her mind everything that's happened. It's a totally gross story. And I don't want to talk about it, and I hate that you asked me. I love that she's positioned herself high above them, and they're like, okay, you're in a position above us where you're in the power spot now, so, you know, go ahead and tell us. It's about why I stopped going to club. And then you see Shirase looking back at her. So they ran track. The competition, so the fastest people should go. And they're like, well, your year and stuff doesn't matter. They say, but for the third years, it will be their last competition. She's like, exactly. It would be more rude to go easy on them. So, essentially, as I understand it, she was told to back off, let the third years go to the competition. But she's like, that's dumb. The fastest should go. And if they can't keep up with me, that's not my problem. I didn't know we were getting a Run with the Wind crossover in this. And then they said the 200 meter to Miyake Hinata. And she was so excited. And no one supported her. when she turned around. And like, didn't you say something to that idiot? And like, well, we told her to be more sensitive, which is bullshit. Because it's like, if they were your friends and you said, no, I want to run track. I want to run. If the third years aren't as fast as me, that's not my problem. I don't care if it's their last year or not. I want to run. And the fact that they didn't stick up for Hinata, instead she overheard them being with the seniors and all of that. And she's like, that's bullshit. You guys were supposed to be my friends. And then she's like, well, nothing mattered to me anymore. I didn't have any friends here, so I quit. And then it wasn't just the fact that she quit and then that was it. It was the fact that, you know, Shirase's like, it's their fault. And then she says, well, humans can be scary, huh? After I quit, they kept spreading all kinds of rumors to lay the blame on me. That's the part that gets me. It's like, not only did she quit, which if you were her real friends, you would have been supportive of her and been like, oh, hey, you know, what can we do to help? Instead, they spread rumors about her. Like, piss off. Yeah, exactly. It's like, whatever. Like, how dare you? And they're all, and I mean, Yuzu knows what that's like. Yuzuki, she had some fake friends quite a bit, so she knows exactly what that's like. And Kimari's had, you know, kind of something like that happen, but not to that extent at all. And she's like, yeah, I didn't need to go there anyway. The ones who sent the email was my old teammates. They want to talk during the broadcast. And they said they were proud their friend went to Antarctica. And I said, oh, we're friends. And I could definitely relate to her in that moment because this didn't happen directly to me, but there was a group we had in our school. It was called Lifesavers. I don't know if you grew up in the 90s in the US or the early 2000s. It was called Lifesavers. The premise of it was really good. The premise of it was a student support group where students supported each other. And if you were a lifesaver, you did like mental health counselor training and you did like some training courses and got some mental health counseling lessons. And then if there was a crisis, you could be somebody that your peers could rely on. In theory, that sounds like a really good thing. But in my very small town school of not very many people, what ended up happening was it was like a clique of people that were kind of, I don't want to say the phrase holier than thou because that sounds like what it was. But it was a group of people that were kind of holier than thou. And they were not exactly the people that if I was in mental crisis, I would turn to for support because they were kind of gossipers. They were gossipers and they were fake and they were kind of like these girls. And so we had a really big tragedy in our school where someone took their life and it was really sad and it was horrifying. It was when I was a senior and they were a junior. And it made me so mad because the group that were supposed to be these mental health counselors and peers were some of the ones that made fun of this kid. And we all knew it. And it still makes me very sad to this day because I don't think I did nearly enough to speak out. And it still kind of haunts me because it's one of those things where you should have spoke out. But at the time, I didn't ever think, I was like 17 and didn't think that was possible that somebody would do that. And then they did. But I remember it made me so mad. It made me feel like Hinata because they were like a group of people trying to be like, oh, it's so sad. And does anybody need a hug and all this? And I'm like, you all were the ones that kind of perpetuated this. And you were the ones that talked shit about him and did all that. And now you're like wanting sympathy and like, oh my gosh, I'm here to help. It just felt very fake and I hated it. And this episode reminded me of that moment that I haven't thought about in 20 years. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm pissed off all over again for that. But yeah, it sucks because it's like, yeah, people like that, they exist and it frustrates you so much. And the problem is people like that don't get it. They just want attention and they just want to not have any repercussions for their actions. And so here, Hinata's friends were all like, well, we're so proud you went to Antarctica and oh my gosh, and we're so sorry that we like if anything bad happened or whatever. And I love Shirase standing up and being like, no, Piss off. You get to live with the consequences of your actions because you are a terrible person. And I love that Hinata's like, does that make me petty? And Shirase's like, I don't care if I'm petty. And I was like, oh, girl. But yeah, I just like, it's one of those things like, why should Hinata feel bad for stuff that you did? We're going to talk about it here again in a little bit. But man, so this area is so cool where the water is melted and it does kind of look like, I thought it looked like dirt and mud, but chocolate cake, I'll take it. But yeah, I love it's like, she's like, and Hinata's like, I don't want to be sympathized. I don't want to be pitied. I just want things to be normal. She's like, I came to Antarctica because there's nothing here, to an empty place where no one can tie me down. And that really affects Shirase, I feel, because Shirase's like, but you're with friends now, and you should be allowed to be mad about stuff like that. You shouldn't feel like you have to run away from it. Because Shirase definitely feels like, you know, the glaciers, the strata, the water from the melted snow. I love all the images of the landscape. It's gorgeous. Oh, I mean, I loved all the shots. But she's like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean anything. And Shirase's like, it means something. She's like, it absolutely means something. Don't brush this off like it's nothing. So then we have the amazing water that's crystal clear, and I want 10,000 bottles of it. And I like that Shirase is gaining a little bit more confidence, where she's gaining more confidence and she's talking about her, like, talking back and forth between these stations and everything. And she's getting more confidence in herself as a speaker, which is really important. So just, and then it sounds like we're surrounded by cake. And that's what Takako said. I love that Shirase is like, my mom said that. That's so cool. Also, by the way, if you have any thoughts or ideations about suicide, 1, you are not alone. 2, there are lots of resources that you can call and contact. Do not take your own life, please. There are lots of people that care about you and love you and will support you. So if you need to help find that, then there are links to things down below. So sorry I brought that up because that makes me very emotional, but I think that's one of the reasons I got emotional this episode was because of Shirase standing up for Hinata, and I was like, oh, that's so important, right? I also like that Kamari is good at painting flags for satellites, you know? Everybody's got talent, right? I like they're also using it to find their location. This poor woman tries to get Yoon-kun, and they're like, ignore her, she does this constantly. But I like the idea that they're being watched. And then this tent, this spacious tent with their ramen and stuff, this looks like so much fun. I would want to stay in this tent. Let me tell you, this looks like the best time. Over like little hot pot with ramen. Yes, please. So Shirase, one thing I love about Shirase, her and Hinata are polar opposites. Hinata would brush it off and act like it never happened and not worry about it. And Shirase's like, no, we're settling this now. Outside, we're going to talk it through. I love that about Shirase, and I love that Yuzu like keeps Kamari back. She's like, no. Let them talk it out. And they've built this rapport between each other throughout this entire series so far, so it's really important that they are able to talk. And she's like, I'm thinking about what I would do in your position if someone had treated me so awfully and wanted to apologize for the permanent damage that they'd done. I wouldn't be okay with it. I wouldn't be able to smile. And Hinata's like, well, you're not me. And I would handle it different. And she's like, I know, but... And then she's like, hand me your hands. And this is what got me. Like, your hands are enough. Shirase, you're so annoying the way you keep talking and talking. I guess I'm still scared. Oh, my heart. Oh, my God, my heart. Oh, she's like, your hands are enough. Just you being here, being present, being with me, being my friend, not leaving me alone. Ugh. So damn good. It's such a good scene. And then she's like, shh. She's like, I'm scared. I love that Shirase starts to get really sad about it. And she's like, but we... And she flicks her in the head. And she's like, no. It's like, I said, your hands were enough. You don't have to get all crazy about this. And she gives her the big hug. And tells her thanks. Oh, thanks for bringing me along. That just broke my heart. It really did. And so, yeah, meanwhile, they're supposed to be making these noodles, right? And we get this little, it says, choose your own New Year's soba, tempura, mochi, or plain. And she's like, those aren't supposed to be, they're not supposed to be flat noodles. You suck. Poor Toshio. He's like, I'm doing my best. I would be him. So she's like, my suntan never recovered. So everybody's hanging around for the New Year's special. And Hinata's like, they're still there. And Shirase's like, do you think that you'll feel, or Hinata says, do you think I'll feel better if I forgive them? And that's such a good question, because I think some people would. But I think Shirase brings up a point where she's like, you might, maybe. Do you want to forgive them? And she's like, well, I might if it makes me feel better. But when I imagine them looking relieved, it gets under my skin. Like, why should I concede to them? And she's like, am I a pretty petty person? And Shirase's like, no, you're not petty. She's like, but I am. I love it because Hinata never was, she never felt angry necessarily at them. I mean, she told him piss off, but it was always like, she always took it on the chin for herself. And Shirase's like, that's stupid. You should not have to make them feel better for something they did to you. Like, that's bullshit. She's like, no, and I'm not going to have it. I'm like, I'm not surprised Shirase does that because she did the whole in your face. And she's like, leave Hinata alone. You may think Hinata's been holding a grudge with you since high school, but she hasn't. She's moved on. She has friends, and we're fine. I like Kamari. Kamari has to chime in, saying we're having a super amazing fun time. She's having a really fulfilling trip, the sort that you can't get where you are. She's like, Hinata's looking forward. She's already walking. She's taking steps with us. She's like, it's fine. It's friendship. Like, Yuzuki's like, save the video. Unlike Hinata, I'm a real jerk, so I'll say it outright. You can't live your lives in this halfway state forever. You hurt someone and made them suffer, and that's what you get for hurting someone. I love it. I love it. And Hinata, she's like, you think you can come crawling back? Well, piss off. I love it. I love it. And I love Toto, like Gin sitting there looking at it, being like, that's Takako's daughter, all right. I love it. I also think that conversation relates to her own feelings about the situation, where, because Gin and Shirase still have unfinished business. They've not sorted things out at all. And so, I feel like a lot of Gin's thoughts on the matter with Takako's death and how Shirase feels. I wonder, one, if she feels like, she wants to piss off to people that have, like, gotten onto her about the death and everything. She's like, well, I love Takako, so you don't have any right to get onto me. But also, I feel like in the same breath, she feels like, I've caused Shirase permanent damage. I can't change that, so I need to move forward, because she's like, I keep going back to, how does Shirase feel about this? How do I feel about this? What about the damage that's been caused? And Shirase is literally standing here being like, we're moving forward. You need to, like, take responsibility for the damage you've caused and then move on. And maybe that's what Gin takes from that speech as well. I love it. I love it so much. And she's like, let's get things ready. Yeah, I feel like that was the push that Gin needed to be like, nope, we're going to move forward. We're not going to stay stuck in the past worrying about who thought this and what did it mean to them. She's like, no, we're moving forward, and that's that. I love it. I love it. So meanwhile, at the station, New Year's is nearing its end. And then will it be on TV? And they're like, oh yeah. And then she's like, oh, Yu-kun. She gets the message from him, apparently. So they go ring in the New Year's to bash the bad thoughts away. I love it. They're like, what if we break it? And they're like, it's just a can. What does it matter? I love it. I love they all smash it together as friends. That's so awesome. I love it. And then our after credit scene is the book that says A Place Further Than the Universe. Okay. All right. Oh, this episode was so good. So good. Oh, the conversation with Shirase and Hinata was amazing, and I loved it, and the message of it. I love this idea that's like, no, you don't always have to forgive people. You just have to understand maybe where they're coming from, and move forward. I've talked about this in other series that I've reacted to on the channel, but part of one of my graduate degrees was that we did training for mediation, and it was really more mediation for like couples and mediation between people. So if like you were getting a divorce or different situations, you needed a mediator, we did training on that process. And one of the things I loved about it was that they taught us that when you do mediation, the end goal is not necessarily to get one side to concede and forgive the other. That's not the goal of mediation. That's not it at all, because that gives away power from that person that's already in a vulnerable state. And then that doesn't end up making them feel better. Oftentimes it makes them feel worse. So if they want to forgive, then absolutely let them do that. But if they are like, I can't forgive you, they don't have to, because that might be something that they use as a center of control for themselves, a way for them to take ownership and move forward. So they always tell us in mediation that the important part isn't necessarily that the other party forgives, but that both parties come to an understanding of why things happened, and then they move forward. And oftentimes when you communicate and understand where the other person's coming from, that process gets a lot easier. And that's kind of what a mediator is there for. So Shirase did some mediating, but Shirase did the mediator rule number 1. No, you don't speak and take ownership of the conversation, which she did. So it wasn't really a mediation. But anyway, Shirase is a legend. I loved her in this episode. Piss off. In your face and piss off. Love it. So I'm really excited to see. Next week is the penultimate episode. I don't know what we're going to get, y'all, but I'm excited to read your comments down below, and I'm excited to get to it, so we shall see. But anyway, I hope y'all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back real soon with episode 12 of A Place Further Than the Universe. Bye!